All right, moving on to the next subject, which is definitely a very pertinent one. It is also speaking to something that is affecting, the Black community of athletes, and it's talking about mental health. For a lot of you who are not familiar, Naomi Osaka, she is the number two tennis player in the world, I believe, who has just recently resigned from playing in the current tournament that's happening, the French Open, and it's due to mental health. She bowed out of the French Open on Monday. And it was, I'm going to read a small excerpt from an article that is actually on the New York Times, and it was posted today, and it just says, 13 sentences. That's all we got from Naomi Osaka as she bowed out of the French Open on Monday after causing a ruckus over her plan to skip post-match news conferences. She did not speak those sentences. They were posted on her Instagram account, nor did she provide anything like a deep explanation. But and that's what the article has. But just to elaborate further, folks, what she was particularly speaking to was the fact that she has had some depression in the past, and speaking is difficult for her to the media about things. And this story is getting a lot of buzz because it's bringing up, the importance of mental health in the sports world. And so our official question is, should athletes be required to always speak to the media, even if they have mental health issues? So again, I'm going to start this off. And for me, this is simple. The answer is absolutely not. Athletes are human beings first. They are not animals to be controlled. They are not, machines to be controlled. These are people with feelings. You never know what any one person is going through at any time. I've heard stories of athletes who have played the game, having just found out a sibling passed away, or, wife is given birth, or, so many different things. And it makes you stop and just appreciate the fact that these are human beings who are, executing whatever sport that they're in for not just a paycheck, but because they know that they mean that much to the fans. I mean, think about that. If this was just about a paycheck, in every one of those instances I just named, the athlete could have said, okay, I'll take the fine. I'm going to go be, a part of this life-changing event. But instead, they know what it means to the fans, and they've made that decision to, to not be in the moment of that life experience so that they can give their fans a great experience. So to turn around and not have any empathy for them, especially when they're citing mental health issues as the reason they don't want to talk to the press, how could we not be empathetic to that? As a fellow human being, we have a responsibility to be empathetic to that. And furthermore, let's not pretend like, and I know people are going to argue with the press are just doing their job. It's their job to ask the difficult questions. It's their job to ask the racy questions. Okay, sure. But let's
What
not act
difficult
like they're,
questions do they be asking? I'm so sorry to cut you off now, Angel. But
no,
like
I
what?
mean, they ask them. I mean, like, sometimes it could be a situation where, the team just lost and etc. The person played bad, right? Badly. And they're coming to that exact same athlete, like, what do you think caused you to play so horribly today? It's not necessarily just the question, it's the way they pose the question as well. And I get it, right? Like Michael, the great example, the Michael Rappaport, Kevin Durant issue. It wasn't just what Michael Rappaport said. It was how he said it. It was the terminology he used, right? And I mean, you have to expect that these are human beings that you're dealing with. If you use terminology that can invite angst, don't expect the perfect response from these athletes. They're human beings.
I definitely agree. But can we go on the record and just say Michael Rappaport's an asshole? Can we just say that? Like,
Yeah, like I said, when we were discussing that topic on that specific session, I feel like both of them were in the wrong. Michael Rappaport and Kevin Durant. I feel like both of them were in the wrong for different reasons in that situation, but I did understand both sides of the issue. I just think that we have to understand something. Yes, the media has a responsibility to report and to give the people what they want, right? And to a certain extent, the athletes have the responsibility to provide the fans what they want and answer questions and etc. But at the same time, to expect them to do this unequivocally at all times, like they're not human beings, and that certain circumstances, we shouldn't expect them to behave as machines. I think that's reasonable. When it comes to their mental health, yes, it's important that we, the fans, we, the public, consider that. And, to be honest with you, I don't have much more to add to that, fellas, because again, this is another subject that we're discussing that is pretty cut and dry to me. These are human beings, not machines. Yes, they have a responsibility to the fans and the public. That responsibility should not outweigh their mental health. And to be honest, that's really all I have to say on the matter. I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Mr. PAT. The official question again is, should athletes be required to always speak to the media, even if they have mental health issues? What say you, sir?
So I think there are certain circumstances where an athlete should be forgiven for not talking to the media. Now, I understand there are contractual obligations, but maybe there need to be some loopholes or something in these contracts that allow for athletes to be able to decide if they want to speak or not at certain times. Period. They shouldn't be required to speak to the media at all times, especially if they have mental health issues. Mental health is a very serious thing, and it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. I just think it's crazy that Naomi got fined $15K in the first place. 15 fucking K. Basically,
that's like an equivalent to like an $100 fine. I know that sounds crazy, but like
no.
That's when you compare, it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah,
when you look at athletes, like for many of them, like 15K is like, it's nothing.
That's still 15K less than what
it is. 15K less, but it's one of those things like, it's like it's a loss, but it's not really a loss. But
it's a loss one way or another. I mean, if like, let's say one of us average folk lose like $50, $100, like, I mean, small chump change in the bigger scheme of things, but it's still a loss of money regardless. Like, you just don't want to lose money like that. It's still a L, whether it's a big L, a small L. I'm looking at it like, she's taking an L. Anytime somebody loses money, regardless of the amount, they're taking an L, so 15,000, it might not be anything to her, but just looking at the scope of what 15,000 is, that's still a nice little chunk of change that she lost.
Exactly. It wasn't a $500 fine. It was to have enough of an impact without being ridiculous, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, ridiculous for her, I guess, for her standards, because she is a pro athlete. So, I mean, I understand that point where, like, that's not that much for them anyway. But regardless, it's still fucked up. But, basically what it sounds like, so when something like that happens, what it sounds like is, well, fuck your mental health issues and well-being. You violated your contract and you need to just suffer the consequences. But hey, get well soon. That's what this sounds like. That's the way this comes across. Now, on the flip side, I think it's good to see that some of the companies that she has sponsorship deals with have shown their support for her. It shows that at least some companies actually give a damn about a person's health. Now, when it comes to black athletes being punished for taking certain stances isn't anything new, as we all know. We know what has happened with black athletes who speak out against racial injustice. If you're not Colin Kaepernick, who lost his job in the NFL for police brutality, then maybe you are part of the WNBA and have gotten fined for wearing black warm-up shirts to protest police brutality. Or you were LeBron James and told to just shut up and dribble. Naomi Osaka decided not to speak to the media so she can deal with her issues with mental health and depression. And unfortunately, she was punished for that. It's already bad enough that the subject of mental health seems to be taboo in the black community. But when you have an organization that prioritizes their contractual agreement over a human being's health, a black woman's health, it says a lot. It says a lot. And I think on some level, this plays into the whole, quote, strong black woman trope. This idea that black women are somehow superhuman and are able to bypass human pain and struggle due to how strong they are. I mean, while we should recognize black women for being able to endure hardships and struggles, we don't need to rob them of their humanity either. Like, that's just something we really just don't need to do. This is the same trope that has created an environment where black men aren't needed, where so-called black men are not needed. And it just adds fuel to the fire of the whole, quote, strong, independent black woman thing. Something that I think has been damaging to the black community as a whole and really has played a role in destroying the black family.
Oh my gosh, sir, preach.
But just to wrap it up, I don't think athletes should be required to speak to the media at all times. Professional athletes already deal with an extreme amount of pressure from all angles. The last thing that is needed is for them to feel coerced into disregarding their own health in order to appease an organization. We don't need that. That's just my thoughts on the matter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely agree with you on a lot of those points. And I appreciate you bringing up some of those subjects because you're absolutely correct. It definitely correlates to, the fact that there is this stigma for black women being independent, being strong, and etc.
Right.
That often people do not realize the amount of pressure that it places on us. Mm-hmm. Right. We have this urge to need to be this superwoman, this Wonder Woman at all times and just tough through it, no matter what we're experiencing. And, that's not fair. You know what I mean? And I know the world is not fair. I know people can argue the world is not fair, but when you're dealing with what we're facing in the black community, trying to, reunite us as a community, as a ethnic group, it is definitely one of the biggest issues, as you said, Pat, this stigma that is placed on us. So thank you very much for bringing that up. That's not even something that I mentioned in my dialogue, but it is definitely pertinent to this situation. So I appreciate that. And so, E-Man, just to reiterate the question for you, sir, it is, should athletes be required to always speak to the media, even if they have mental health issues? What say you, good sir?
All right. So, I feel like everyone, and I'm gonna give everyone all these athletes out here. I'm gonna have to give everybody the whole sneak tip that we forgot to learn from the greatest interviewer of all time of all sports is Marshawn Lynch, the only man when it comes to an interview only have to say 5 to 7 words and basically
Hmm.
say, "I'm only here so I don't have to get fined."
True.
I, I would give all athletes that same line. If you don't want to deal with them, Marshawn Lynch has saved us all. Yes, yes, he has, and whatnot. And I want to put it out there. Let's just use that in a sense, you know. The thing when it comes,
That's
the
actually not bad advice, even.
Right. It's really not. That's like
so,
a
and
template
this
right
is why
there.
I love Marshawn Lynch. This it's just man. It's one day I just want to just sit there and just chop it up with that man. He is a funny dude, and I'm thankful for him saving all athletes out there. Just that one line, you know, and they'll leave you alone. What happened when he did that? After a few tries, they didn't want to interview him anymore. So, Marshawn Lynch, I want to applaud you, brother, for the best line in the world. And athletes out there, let's just use that line if you don't want to deal with the media. You know, I get it. You guys, there's a lot of endorsements and contract deals that are out there. I get it. I understand the sports behind business. This is something that I love and enjoy, that I read on. This is why I'm a nerd. And so, first things first and whatnot, I felt when I heard this story, this was actually, this is something I really wanted to talk about because first things first and whatnot, I gotta give it up to Miss Naomi and whatnot. She is good looking in the eyes. So congratulations on that part right there, you know? And then, I just pull up the phone just to see, how much, Miss Naomi makes towards his prize money, which is about 19, million, you know. So, 15,000. Yeah, it it hurts, but I know it hurts. But let's make sure we use Marshawn to help you out in that situation and whatnot. But the media needs to stop being these vultures. That's what they are. That's what they do. That's what they are. Because they all want a story. Like I always call all like newscasters, I like to call them assholes and whatnot, who always wants a story. They're like hoes. That's what they do. Like, they will whore themselves out for a story, no matter how much for every interview, you know, because if you're there, they're going to do their best to go get this interview, no matter what and whatnot. That's what they do. They're all hoes, you know, and the only way you got to put a hoe in their place, you got to set them right and you got to set them straight. And that's how Marshawn did it. So all you athletes out there, learn from Marshawn Lynch, please, because it would just end all the BS that you don't have to deal with these motherfuckers. All the BS. But it's very sad for them not respecting this woman's wishes. It shouldn't even gone that far. I get it with all those deals and whatnot. It shouldn't have gone that far, and it went there. You know what? And now there's been I can't even say media talk, but it seems like everyone it's made a lot of people angry and mad. You know, for me, am I angry? No. Am I mad? No. Am I upset? Yes. Why? Because when it comes to upsetting, women, it bothers me in the sense when they didn't do anything wrong, and she didn't do anything wrong. You know, she, you know, she's the second ranked highest player, in the world in tennis. Can anybody really find has she really done? You know, I don't know because I'm just hearing about her name, and I'm not much of a tennis follower and whatnot. But this is my first time hearing, and since this is my first time hearing her name, you know, I need to go sit down and find out how many interviews she's done. And if she hasn't done much, why are we pushing this issue? and
She
everything.
has done she became famous recently in the last couple of years. And I'm not like a super avid tennis fan or anything, but because she beat Serena Williams. I think it was either last
Oh,
year or the year
that's
before
why.
that.
That's why.
Yeah, and
That's
she's
why.
she's really good. She's actually really, really good.
And
But
that's the
yes,
reason
she
why.
definitely has done, I want to say, more than at least a handful of interviews, but she's spoken on the fact that it brings her anxiety, even, thinking about having to do the interview part. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, okay, that's a really good note. And I feel like for all athletes and whatnot, like most of them don't want to talk to y'all. Like that is that is the actual truth. You know, just because you guys are sitting there, trying to collect a story, these people don't want to talk to y'all at all. You know, yeah, they are forced by contingencies between contracts for them to actually say something to y'all to get a story. So all my athletes out there, follow Marshawn Lynch. I feel like Marshawn Lynch should write a guide on how to not talk to the media and whatnot. You know, and I'm just putting it out there so if Marshawn's listening and whatnot. Like I'm trying to give everyone all these tools that they need. You know, and this is something that we really need out there. So and
Yeah, no, Marshawn Lynch is definitely a good example of how some athletes have dealt with this issue. So,
yeah. Because I
definitely
remember
good.
when Marshawn was dealing with it and he didn't want to talk to it. When he was now forced, and there goes the word. I'm just here so I don't have to get fined. And guess what? Once he said it so much, they left him alone and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
now
I don't know that every athlete would be able to say that all the time. Then they would
I feel
just
like every
change the
athlete will give.
rules. But
I'll put it like this:
that's definitely
if
true.
Bill Belichick can go to an interview and say only one word and whatnot, and get away with his interviews, what you mean any other man? Y'all can get away with murder if y'all had to in an interview. You know what I'm saying? You you know all you have to say is one word and leave it alone, and everything will be out. That's why I have to give. And Bill Belichick. I feel like Marshawn Lynch learned from Bill Belichick and whatnot. Just sit there, say one word, and be like, all right, we're done. All right, cool. I'll see you guys next week,
Possible.
and leave it as that. Don't, so don't make the interview process difficult. When
Hmm.
they just want something so they can get a story because they're all hoes. So how do you put a hole in their place? You gotta make sure you man up and tell them like, no, you ain't gonna do
The
this to me. You know,
and
you
you
know
know
what you need to
what?
do.
I agree with you for a lot of it. I think the only thing is that, like, when people are going through mental health issues, sometimes things in the moment are not that cut and dry, right? There are other elements that play a part in this. Sometimes it could be, that the entire, as I was saying earlier, the entire time that athlete is performing, their mind is not right, right? And you can see that through their performance. And so I think it's incumbent upon the media to have a heart, which rarely happens, but
Yeah,
that's
not
part
designed for
of.
that.
Right. Right. That's part of it. It's incumbent upon the media, and it's incumbent upon these owners and these organizations to recognize that these are people, not machines.
That's hard for them to say when that cash flow keep coming in.
Hmm.
That's the thing when you own a sports business. Because the thing about sports is not supposed to make money. I just want to put it out there. It's it's a form of entertainment. You know, you know, you know. They do many things to get you not just to like get you into like fall into the entertainment part. They have to do many things to get you to love something that you don't need to love. That sounds crazy, but you're talking to somebody who's been working in sports, for almost 10 years and whatnot. I've even taught. I actually, and I'm gonna give you guys a very interesting story. I had a chance, to work with an ex NFL player. That was actually pretty cool. That was like one of the dopest things I had fun with since me being a trainer. That's been like the coolest thing, and I never thought this would ever happen to me at all and whatnot. Come to find out, he's an alum at the same school I went to for college and whatnot. That made it extra dope and whatnot. And I had a chance to actually talk to him about certain things and whatnot, not just towards his interviews and whatnot, but he really gave me a breakdown a lot more in sports and whatnot, not just from the media and whatnot, like towards athletes and everything. It gave me the best insight in the world. And since then, it helped me now realize, not just because everything's smoke and like fumes and whatnot. It's just the simple fact is like, many people just won't get it and whatnot, They won't get it. It's just a business and whatnot. And this is what they keep doing to these people. So when I tell people, sports is just a business, like it definitely is, because it's definitely a cash cow. But they don't even look at these people as individuals. They look like basically, like Naomi said, we want to make sure they don't look like machines, but that's what they see them as, That is what because these players can be going out injured and they'll still push them to the limit. Like, ask yourself this, right? This woman beat Serena Williams, which is one of the top tennis players of, since this past decade and whatnot, It's like passing the torch to her now. So now it's like, oh, you're going to be Serena now and whatnot, Because Serena did her interview. She did everything that she was supposed to do, She did all that, But because
she also did an interview recently supporting Naomi and saying she wished she could give her a hug. Yeah. So there's definitely some support coming from her counterparts, and I'm very happy to see that. So, but yeah, I definitely think we all definitely made some great points here. E-Man, did you have anything you wanted to add to wrap us up?
I just want to quickly wrap up. My apologies, but I just want to quickly wrap up.
No,
and just
no worries. No worries at all.
But just basically saying, many athletes will always be in support of other athletes of things that they don't want to do and whatnot. But just at the end of the day, can we just make sure we pick up, Marshawn Lynch, How to Beat an Interview 101, written by Marshawn Lynch and Bill Belichick.
Marshawn Lynch template.
Yeah, you better follow that template. I'm telling you that right now. And Bill too, because Bill's doing it right.
Give it a shot. Can't hurt to give it a shot.